Hello, and welcome back to Truth in Time, as we unpack the Watergate saga. In June 1972, a security guard found tape across a Washington office door late at night. That small discovery would spark a chain of events that shook American politics to its core. 5 men were arrested inside the Democratic National Committee headquarters at Watergate. What began as a burglary slowly revealed links to political operatives and campaign strategies. Reporters Bob Woodward and Bernstein refused convenient explanations and kept digging. Their persistent reporting traced money, shell companies, and connections to the Nixon re-election effort. The FBI opened investigations while prosecutors and judges began to follow paper trails. In 1973, the Senate formed a special committee to investigate abuses of campaign power. Live television turned hearings into a public drama, watched by millions across the nation. Senator Sam Ervin led questioning with steady, plain-spoken determination and legal gravity. Witnesses testified, documents surfaced, and the facade of secrecy started to crack. Then, Alexander Butterfield revealed a shocking detail. The White House taped its conversations. The existence of a taping system transformed rumor into potentially decisive evidence. Legal fights erupted over whether those tapes could be withheld by executive privilege. The dispute traveled through lower courts and reached the Supreme Court itself. In United States v. Nixon, the court ruled that the president must produce subpoenaed evidence. That ruling reinforced the idea that no person is completely above the law in criminal probes. When portions of the tapes were released, the public heard conversations that mattered enormously. A recording dubbed "The Smoking Gun" revealed discussions, suggesting an effort to obstruct justice. Once that tape surfaced, political support for the president rapidly collapsed in Congress. Faced with likely impeachment and removal, Richard Nixon chose to resign in August 1974. He left the presidency under a cloud, the first American leader to step down in disgrace. But Watergate was never merely about one resignation or one recorded tape. The burglary itself exposed willingness to use clandestine methods for political advantage. The cover-up, lies, payoffs, and manipulation amplified the original wrongdoing massively. Investigative journalism proved decisive, showing how patient reporting can unravel deep secrecy. An anonymous insider known as Deep Throat guided Woodward and Bernstein in crucial moments. Decades later, Mark Felt, an FBI deputy director at the time, confirmed his role as that source. His choice underscores the ethical dilemmas insiders confront when confronting institutional wrongdoing. The judiciary played a central role by enforcing subpoenas and upholding legal process under pressure. Prosecutors pursued indictments, and many operatives and advisors faced convictions and sentences. Congress responded with reforms intended to strengthen transparency in campaign finance and governance. New rules aimed to limit secret funds, improve disclosure, and deter covert political operations. Whistleblower protections and oversight mechanisms grew in importance after the scandal. For the public, the hearings were both education and shock law made visible on evening television. Watergate reshaped the relationship between press, public, and political power in America. Reporters gained prestige but also faced a trade-off. Urgency balanced with careful verification. The suffix "gate" entered popular language as shorthand for scandal and public controversy. Culturally, Watergate inspired books, films, and plays that turned events into enduring lessons. All the President's Men dramatized the reporting and immortalized the painstaking work of journalism. Academics turned the scandal into case studies for law, public administration, and media ethics. Polling from the era shows a sharp decline in public trust toward institutions after the revelations. Rebuilding confidence required reforms, civic education, and sustained transparency over time. United States v. Nixon remains a landmark case about the limits of executive privilege. Law schools still teach the decision as central to constitutional checks and balances. The scandal also exposed the corrosive effect of a secrecy-first culture in government. When leaders prioritize concealment, small misdeeds can cascade into systemic failures. Watergate highlighted the importance of internal checks, ethics officers, and independent inspectors. It demonstrated that institutions are resilient when courts, press, and Congress function independently. Yet the episode left a lasting political cynicism that shaped public discourse for decades. Many careers were ruined, reputations stained, and lives profoundly affected by the scandal. Investigations, trials, and convictions nevertheless showed accountability can work when institutions act. Watergate taught civic lessons about vigilance, the rule of law, and the need for public oversight. It also taught that personalities matter. Ambition, fear, and loyalty shape choices and consequences. The tapes offered a rare, intimate window into executive decision-making and private conversations. Those recordings provide historians crucial evidence to reconstruct motives and timelines precisely. Watergate's archival record is now a resource for scholars studying power, policy, and ethics. The scandal produced practical reforms like stronger campaign finance disclosure and oversight laws. It also prompted debates about how much secrecy is appropriate in national security matters. Policymakers had to balance necessary confidentiality against democratic accountability and transparency. The case reinforced that accountability requires institutions willing to act against powerful figures. It underscored the value of whistleblowers and the need to protect those who disclose wrongdoing. Journalists learned lessons about source protection, corroboration, and ethical reporting standards. For lawyers and judges, Watergate reaffirmed the judiciary's role in checking executive excess. For citizens, it was a reminder to remain informed, skeptical, and engaged in civic life. In classrooms, Watergate became a core civics lesson about the separation of powers at work. In political discourse, comparisons to Watergate quickly arise when modern controversies emerge. The gate suffix now signals potential scandal in headlines around the world. Watergate's legal precedents continue guiding courts, evaluating claims of privilege and immunity. The episode also showed how a culture of fear and secrecy can drive flawed, risky decisions. Officials convinced themselves that protection of power justified ethically dubious methods. Small ethical lapses accumulated until the system faced an existential crisis of credibility. Yet ultimately, the system responded. Investigation, indictment, trial, and public judgment occurred. Watergate demonstrated the ability of democratic institutions to self-correct under pressure. It also highlighted the personal costs to those who were swept into the scandal's orbit. Many involved faced jail time, career ruin, or lifelong public scrutiny. The scandal's human dimension included loyalty, regret, and the moral strain of cover-up. Over time, reforms aimed to close loopholes and make governance more transparent and accountable. Congress, regulators, and watchdog groups expanded oversight powers in the scandal's aftermath. Watergate's influence extended into cultural memory, shaping how generations view political power. Scholars continue to debate whether the reforms fully address the underlying incentives for abuse. Modern technologies present new challenges, requiring updates to laws and institutional checks. The scandal's lessons remain relevant. Laws, norms, and vigilance must evolve as societies change. When new controversies arise, Watergate serves as a benchmark for accountability and ethical response. Public trust is fragile. Restoring it takes time, reform, and visible adherence to democratic norms. Ultimately, Watergate is both cautionary tale and model for institutional correction through law and oversight. It shows that even when power twists toward secrecy, persistent inquiry can restore accountability. If institutions function, press, courts, and Congress, democracy can withstand corruption's pressures. Watergate reminds citizens to insist on transparency and to support institutions that check power. Its legacy is evident in journalism, training, legal precedent, and the continued push for open records. The scandal remains a touchstone in debates about executive power, surveillance, and public ethics. For students of history, Watergate is a vivid example of checks and balances in action under stress. It affirms that no official is immune when credible evidence suggests criminal wrongdoing occurred. Thank you for watching Truth in Time and joining this concise journey through Watergate's lessons. If this story resonated, like the video and subscribe for more civic history and institutional stories. Tell us in the comments which part surprised you most. The break-in, the tapes, or the legal fight. Leave questions for future episodes and help keep civic memory and accountability alive. Stay curious, stay informed, and remember, transparency and oversight sustain democracy.